what's up, guys? Got another new video for you. This is Tuned In Sports here. My name is Bryson.
I'm Bennett.
And today we're going to be getting into a little bit of NBA news. It was released yesterday at the time of this recording that Russel Westbrook has been traded to the Washington Wizards for John Wall and a
First round
pick in 2021, yes?
No, 2023.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 2023. That's right. So, you know, that obviously I'm a big Russ fan. He's my favorite player. So, I'll be interested to see what he does in Washington. Let's start with the Wizards side of things here. You know, as far as Russ goes, you know, I think he is a great player. He may not be the best shooter, but he offers so much more to the game than just shooting the basketball. And I do think, you know, his shooting is not horrible. It definitely could be better, for sure, especially like from three and stuff like that. But I don't think that, you know, him being a point guard that can't shoot the three very well means that he has no value. He's one of the best players in the game, in my opinion. I think he's great, and obviously I'm a little biased, but, you know, that's just how I feel about it. Now, him going to the Wizards along with Bradley Beal, I think it's interesting. And I think they also brought somebody else over to Washington also, right?
Who?
Did they bring... who did they bring over from the Trevor Ariza deal?
I don't think it was really anybody of note.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure that they brought over somebody, but regardless, you know, I think the Wizards are a team that desperately want to do something to keep Bradley Beal there. And from leaving, you know what I mean? And I think bringing Russ over is definitely a step in the right direction towards doing that.
Well, you know, all they need is Jerome Robinson, you know, former Clipper.
Yeah, that's true.
He'll bring them to the championship someday. But, you know, I mean, yeah, my thoughts on this trade, though,
We're talking about the Wizards.
Yeah, for the Wizards, I think they got a steal. You know, John Wall hasn't played in like 2 seasons, and is already was causing havoc for the Wizards. So, you know, to be able to get rid of his expensive contract, I mean, they did replace it with Westbrook, but in the same token, I feel like Westbrook's going to be better value for you than John Wall will be at this point. You know, if they want to win, I think I would rather have Westbrook at this point. You know, him with Bradley Beal, that's going to be a nice pairing, I think. It's just going to be a question of who they're going to put around those guys. Oh yeah, they re-signed Bertans. That was the big deal for the Wizards. Bertans is a really good player, so you know, he's gonna be a nice fit with those guys. And to me, I think this just automatically elevates the Wizards.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think
they could be really dangerous.
Yeah, I think this was a great move for the Wizard. I mean, they got rid of a Hawking contract that was taking up space, a guy that didn't want to be there anymore, and they traded away a first-round pick in 2023. But truthfully, I mean, when you got Russ and Bradley Beal, that's an attractive market for free agency. So I don't think, and Washington anyways, is not the worst spot to land. So, no. And then you got Bertans. I really think that they don't need draft to get good players. And especially if it was their pick. I mean, you know, by 2023, if things go their way, they're going to be competing for a championship. So that pick is going to be late in the first round anyways. Yeah. So really, I don't see what there was to lose. You got one of the best players in the NBA from this deal. And for really a guy that sat on the injured reserve list and a player that Russ will probably be better than.
Yeah, exactly.
So this was a no-brainer. No-brainer for the Wizards. Steal, like you said. Getting rid of somebody that probably, if you would have had to start the season with him, he may have caused some havoc in the locker room if he even played because he's wanting out.
Yeah, and not only that, but they already got some nice young pieces to build around. Jerome Robinson is getting better. Mm-hmm. He's not, at his full potential, I don't think yet, but the more he plays, I think the better he'll get.
Yeah, and
he can be a nice solid rotation player for them. And then they also got, Thomas Bryant, center. He's pretty nice. And also a young player. So,
yeah, and then they drafted what's his nuts from Michigan State.
Wait, is it Martavis Bryant or Thomas Bryant? I'm trying to I think it's Thomas, right?
I don't remember. But I know that they drafted Cassius whatever his name is. I can't think of his name at the moment, but they drafted him from Michigan State. So that's going to be interesting. So they already got some solid young players as well as now the draft picks, and they re-signed Bertans, and the team's looking up. They got a big contract with Ish Smith yet on the team. I've been hearing rumors about him potentially getting traded though, because he's got a really big contract. But I don't think having him on the team is the worst thing, because he's an experienced player. But I also don't think you really need that. The biggest thing for the Wizards is that this was solely a trade where you look at it and you say, Bradley Beal, please stay. We're going to give you a reason to now. And they did that.
Yeah, and not only that, but, back to the Ish Smith thing, I think, if they could somehow rework his deal to where they're not paying him so much, I think they should do it. He might be willing to do it now more that, Russell Westbrook is there, and they might have a chance to win. Yeah. So, I think if they could get that, then they should. But, yeah, this Wizards team definitely is on the lookup. On the uprise.
Yeah, and then
I'm really looking forward to watching that team.
Yeah, and then before we move on to the Rockets side of it, the last thing is I heard yesterday that Russ is changing his number. He's going to be number 4 now on the Wizards, so that's kind of cool. Just a fresh start for him, I guess. And I've always liked the number 4. Probably my favorite number outside of maybe the number 8. And so I think 4 is pretty awesome. I always liked 2, 4, and 8. I always thought those looked really good on a jersey in the NBA, at least. And so I think I'm really excited to see that play out. And I just wish him nothing but the best. I hope he goes down there and elevates the city. And, like I said before, with that draft pick, what does it really matter? Because right now you're looking at a team that is attractive to free agents. Because they're saying, shoot, look at these guys. Bradley Beal can ball. Russ is is an ex-MVP. So why wouldn't I want to go play down there? The only thing that kind of concerns me is a lot of the major people are no longer on the roster. Not on the roster. A lot of the big-time free agents are no longer available. So it's a little bit late for this year. But next year, there's some big-time free agents going to be available. And I really think this was a great move by the Wizards. And that's also not saying they can't still make some trades also. And Washington, anyways, is not necessarily like a small market team. I mean, Washington is a big deal, and they're also one of the teams also that has 4 teams in terms of basketball, football, hockey, and baseball.
Yeah.
So there's a market there, and I mean, this was a great trade for Washington.
Yeah, I mean, and that pretty much brings Russ off the market for us, because I know we were kind of looking at him.
Yeah,
so
potentially.
It's now we know he's not going to be there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because there was some things about Paul George moving for Russ and
some
different things like that. So that's off the market. But and really, I think in some ways that also kind of tells you that you're out on Bradley Beal as well, just because I mean they could still trade him.
But I don't think they should.
I don't think he's always said that he loves it in Washington, right? I mean, I think that's the only reason he stayed as long as he has when that team's done diddly squat.
Yeah, you know, after this trade, I think the Suns and the Wizards arguably had 2 of the best off seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, easy.
Well, in terms of going from, in terms of getting better and trying to win.
Those 2 teams.
Because, I mean, I feel like the Thunder did a great job for what they were trying to do. Is it going to,
Yeah, I'm just saying in terms of if you're trying to win, those teams were the ones that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
And also, the Lakers did pretty good. But
yeah, obviously the Lakers, I mean, they did what they needed to do. They refueled. But anyways, regardless of that, let's get into the Rocket side of things. They might know something that I don't.
Yeah.
Because truthfully, this just seems very puzzling. I'm not saying that when healthy, John Wall can't be a difference maker, but he never is. And he's constantly getting hurt, and who knows what he's going to look like coming back anyways. I mean, he's missed like 2 seasons without even playing a game, and you're giving up Russ. And in some respects, I understand because he's not happy, or he wasn't happy with the direction that what Houston was going, and James Harden appears to want out. But you've got James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and then you signed Boogie Cousins in the offseason.
I mean,
so and you've traded, Covington and got. I mean, I'm just saying you've made some moves to try to bring in players.
But I'm starting to think, honestly, I mean, I'm thinking these are all kind of lateral moves. I mean, I don't think you're getting John Wall, you're getting any better by any means. I mean, John Wall's a solid player when healthy, but he hasn't been playing. I mean, you're not going to know we don't know what he's going to look like when he steps out on the floor. Yeah. And plus, I mean, if you're looking to try and, rebuild, then why bring in Boogie Cousins? I mean, he's a solid player. I mean, he's had some injury problems, but I think he could still be a valuable piece for this Rockets team.
Yeah, he's one of the better players in the league at that position when he's healthy. But the problem is that if you're now getting rid of franchise point guard, and then if James Harden leaves, why did you invest that money? And I mean, to bring in John Wall, who probably won't see the court.
And why not just keep Westbrook? I mean, if they're gonna roll with bringing in Cousins, I mean, I would rather have Westbrook than Wall.
Because I think Russ said that he wanted to trade because he didn't understand the direction of the team, but after they signed Cousins, I mean, I think the direction is pretty clear. We're trying to win. So I think he would have been more than happy to stay.
I just think it's kind of. I mean, what the Rockets are doing really doesn't make sense right now to me. I'm starting to understand what Russ was saying. This team doesn't have a direction.
Yeah,
they're trading him out of there, and I don't know how they're going to move Harden. I mean, Harden is.
Yeah. Well, and then didn't they? I'm trying to think who was it that. Because I know they traded Ariza or Covington to Portland for Ariza, and then they traded Ariza to the Thunder, and I think that was for Danny Green,
Ariza, right?
No, well, yeah, the Thunder traded Ariza, but I think who they got for Ariza was Danny Green from the Thunder. So I think they have Danny Green also. Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure Danny Green is a Rocket.
I don't know for sure. I know he went to a team that's a championship contender, though.
I'm almost positive that he is now on the Rockets. But anyway,
if he's there, then that just proves more of our point that it doesn't make sense for Russell West for this trade to happen. I mean, I think Danny Green is a solid player, and he definitely has championship experience. And if the Rockets are trying to win, I don't see why, I could understand the D'Antoni move if they think he's not the right fit there. But why get rid of guys when you're not close? When you're close to being extremely good, Yeah. I think bringing in Cousins isn't going to hurt things. If he can stay healthy, he's a solid player. And then you got Westbrook, Harden, Boogie, Eric Gordon is still there. You got a very solid, group of guys there.
Yeah, for sure.
I might not understand it now, but, the Rockets might have more moves in store. So I'm not really going to place too much judgment on them yet because they could. I think there's more things that are going to happen with that team by the end of this.
Okay, yeah. Well, it says here that Danny Green's still on the Thunder, but I thought for sure I remember him getting traded. And I thought it was to the Rockets. But regardless, either way, I'm just saying they got DeMar Carroll is on the Rockets too now. So they've got some solid pieces, and it just, like he said, it just seems like really a confusing move. I don't know. It really also just comes down to what they think the problem was last year. And I think maybe it was the coach and that style of ball just wasn't going to work. But at the same time, the way that things are now, I don't get it. I don't understand it from the Rockets' perspective. And it seems to me like they just really wanted to get rid of Russ. They just really wanted to trade him, and they were willing to take just about anything, including a first-round draft pick in 3 years and a guy that's coming off of being injured for 2 years straight.
Yeah, the way I kind of see it is I think Harden's kind of a tough player to play with, to be honest. He's kind of like a Kawhi. Shoot first, even if I'm guarded.
Yeah, but the only difference is that when Harden's in the game, he'll also dribble the ball down the floor.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's even worse than Kawhi.
It's just kind of. If Russ wanted out of there, I think Harden played a big part in it. Honestly, I think I'm seeing this happen constantly with the Rockets. I mean, Chris Paul wanted out. Now Westbrook wants out.
Yeah, but Westbrook's thing was more with the direction of the team than it was.
I thought it was because he wanted to be a floor general.
Well, he did say that as well, but he could have still been on the Rockets because Harden wants to be traded. So, but I mean, I don't know. It just, regardless of all that, it's a puzzling move by the Rockets, and just like he said earlier, this really does just show that I don't think the ownership has a direction right now. You make one move by bringing in Boogie Cousins that suggests, hey, we're going to give this another go, add on a serious player, and let's see what we can do. But then you trade away one of the best players and one of the main reasons that you did well last season to another team, and bring in less than equitable in terms of, or equal in terms
value.
of the trade. Yeah, value. And you just think, what are you doing? And I mean, John Wall, like we said, he's better than good when he was healthy before, but he hasn't played in 2 years. Will he be the same player? And even if he is it going to be
I don't know if he's better than Russ is. I don't think.
Even then, was he better than Russ is? I think, I think I would have probably
I think
put him on the same level, maybe a little bit lower than Russ before he got injured, because he was trending to be one of the better point guards in the league.
I think, I think, it will make sense if Wall comes and is healthy and they decide to keep Harden around. I guess that would make more sense to me.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is if they end up trading Harden as well, what you think?
Bring Wall in for just so he can waste more years of his career? I mean, he was already doing that with Washington.
I was gonna say, I don't know. I would have been. I mean, I just feel like with all the teams, for instance, if they would have made a trade with the Clippers, I mean, with the Clippers trade, they were potentially going to get Paul George. You know what I mean? And You're telling me that you'd rather have John Wall than Paul George with James Harden? Or even just Paul George by himself? Even if you moved everybody else and you just had Paul George and Boogie Cousins, I'll take that.
I mean, another way to look at it probably, I think, is, John Wall's coming off an injury, so they're probably figuring, James Harden can do what he likes to do.
Yeah.
And John Wall won't have to play as big of a role with James Harden because James Harden can carry a team pretty much single-handedly. So
yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, we'll have to see what ends up happening. But I'm just saying, like, if they would have done that deal with the Clippers, if you're going to do this, even if James Harden ended up getting traded, I'll take Paul George and Boogie Cousins over John Wall and Boogie Cousins. I mean, and if James Harden gets moved, you're going to get some pieces for that from the Nets, right? If they traded. Well, I'm just saying, let's say he gets traded to the Nets. And you end up getting Spencer Dinwiddie and maybe a couple other players like that. Yeah. I'll take that with Paul George, Boogie Cousins, and that'd be great. And then also John Wall, I guess. Or no, not John Wall, because you'd get Paul George instead. That would be great. But instead, you're looking at John Wall, potentially whoever the Nets bring over if they trade to them. But Spencer Dinwiddie is a point guard also, isn't he?
No, he's a shooting guard.
Oh, he's a shooting guard? Okay, well, but
nonetheless, I don't think that gets them in winning position.
No,
I don't.
No, exactly.
That's why it doesn't really.
See, the thing is I feel like if I'm the Rockets, what you say is to James Harden, you say, What do you want? What can we do? And who do you want us to go after? And we will throw the team at him. You know what I mean? We'll throw everybody to get you the player that you want and just go from there. You can pick a name and we'll throw the kitchen sink at them. And maybe they did that and weren't able to work something out, and that ties it. And maybe they have been doing that and it still hasn't won them anything, and that's why he wants out of there. Maybe that's the reason why. You know what I mean? Maybe they've already tried all these different things and it hasn't worked. But the problem is that for James Harden, I just don't see where he's going to go, and the situation is going to get any better. I mean, I think if he gets traded to the Nets, that's going to be a disaster, potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, they could maybe work it out, but I don't think it's going to be glitz and glory right away. But what I will say is, one thing that I was thinking is, like, if he were to end up on a team like the Raptors, specifically the Raptors, that are already really good, but could use that boost, I feel like James Harden could take the Raptors to the next level. And he could be the main dude without too much. I mean, because Kyle Lowry, he won a championship with Kawhi. So he knows about the, hey, me first kind of thing, and you just do whatever you do when you have the ball.
Yeah.
I feel like James Harden would be a great fit, or could be potentially a decent fit on the Raptors.
Yeah, the problem I'm kind of seeing, though, is, like I said earlier, it seems like just a common thing. Who's the players that are getting moved from the Rockets? It's never the main players besides Harden are the ones getting moved. It seems like they're wanting to. I don't know, because to me, I feel like if those players are requesting trades out of there, that signals to me that Harden's just not easy to play with.
No, yeah, I completely agree. I think that's exactly the case, to be honest with you.
That's
why I say I don't know where he's going to go, where it's going to get much better. And I don't know. But regardless, this video is not about Harden. We're just specifically talking about the Rockets. And it was just a puzzling move, in my opinion. I don't know I think, like you said earlier, the biggest thing is it just kind of speaks to what Russ was talking about, where this move kind of makes you think that they're a team that is missing a direction, because this trade just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and also, the Boogie Cousins signing doesn't make sense if they're trying to rebuild.
Yeah, and I don't think that they're trying to rebuild, but if you are trying to not rebuild and win now, Russ was a much bigger part of that than he was a much bigger part of that than John Wall will probably be, especially. But and again, also, here's another thing: is like, you want to get better and stuff, and make a push to the playoffs. Well, why are you bringing in Boogie Cousins, some guy that's constantly hurt? I feel like if you want to put your money toward and sign a big name, why are you putting that money on Boogie Cousins when he's constantly injured?
And not only that, but I don't think he's the best player in the locker room either.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's just puzzling all around. But regardless, it happened.
We'll see what happens.
And best of luck to Russ, and hopefully it works out for the Rockets. Hopefully. At the end of the day, John Wall has been a really good player in this league, and I want him to do well, because he's got the talent. So hopefully he can come back and show you exactly why they did it and be a big difference maker.
Yeah, if he does, then this will make more sense.
Well, yeah, it won't seem as bad. Yeah. But if it ends up being exactly what it has been the last handful of years where he sits on the bench all year long, then the Rockets are going to look like they got robbed. So we'll see. But I mean, again, like I said, hopefully John Wall can come back and be the player that he has been, because he was a great player.
Oh yeah,
and I would be excited to see him back out there doing and playing at a high level. And I'd be anxious to see how he fits on the Rockets. But, you know, there's a good chance that this isn't the last move they make. So maybe it'll make more sense come time the season starts. But regardless, you know, best of luck to both teams.
Yeah.
And I definitely think, just at face value, Washington
definitely won this one.
Definitely got a steal on this trade. Either way, even if John Wall ends up being a great player,
it's still a great.
Again, it's still a great trade for Washington, and I'm anxious to see what ends up happening with it. Yeah. So I guess with that being said, we'll go ahead and cap the video off here. If you like what you watch, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you get a notification every time we upload something. With that being said, also make sure you go over to the Clip Joint, number of podcasts about different moves that the Clippers have made and just different basketball moves in general. Really good content over there. If you like what you see here, you'll definitely like what you see there, because it's the same people for the most part, and good stuff. So make sure you check that out as well. With that being said, my name's Bryson.
I'm Bennett.
See you guys in the next video.